don't think my ADHD meds have been working.
No?
No. There's been some talk online about the particular brand I take.
Yeah, I'm aware that some brands in the US... I don't know if there's any... if it's legit, but I've been hearing the rumblings of, like, hey, the US... You know, the US government is making it harder to, like, limiting the amount of the medication they can actually produce, and maybe they're just spreading it a little thinner to make the number of tablets they're trying to make.
Yeah, the
amount of med they have.
There is a bit of a disconnect between what the US federal government is allowing pharmaceutical companies to produce in terms of Adderall and the necessity that has,
Yes.
I think the pandemic woke a lot of people up to maybe having this issue. The diagnoses are going up significantly, and it's going up in adults. That's the big. It used to be a thing that we just concerned ourselves with kids, and we're finding, oh, wait a minute, there's a lot of people that have these problems.
Kids that haven't grown into adults that have it, and you're gonna realize adults are out there with it. But yeah, no, there are some brands that I've been seeing some people going, yeah, it just stopped working, and like I can't prove it, but maybe they're just putting less in because they're not allowed to put more in.
Well, I mean, out here, people have had difficulty even getting their prescriptions filled at all.
God, I've been having that over here.
Yeah.
Now, I need to possibly go back to the drawing board anyway, maybe try a non-stimulant, because even when my current medication was working out, I had to put in extra work to make sure that it actually worked. Like, I had to focus myself before I took it, which is sort of when it's meds to get you to focus, having to focus first without it, it's, not ideal.
It adds another layer of difficulty.
Another layer of difficulty.
I've known some people on the non-stimulant ones who've gotten on great. The only thing that's fun with the non-stimulant ones, for them to be effective, you have to take them every day at the exact time, which is one of those things that's really hard to do when you've got ADHD, is to reliably never miss a dose, have them the same time all the time.
And a pretty freewheeling schedule, generally speaking.
Right.
Yeah.
So the overall point is that I took my meds like a good little pill popper. Like,
yeah,
I've got quite a bit to do this week. I really didn't need to waste time the other day. So I took my meds and had a plan. And I was on what should have been the easy part of the plan. Just play some of that fucking Jedi game so that I can review it. Just play some of the Jedi game. It's not particularly interesting, which is a struggle, but less than halfway into the time I had given myself to do it, I was instead on my phone writing down a list of Discord channels that I might do if I were to do my own Discord server. The document started off well enough. There's a channel for videos, writing, podcasts, wrestling, video games, the usual stuff. And then right at the end, and this is where I spent... the thing I spent most on that day was Sad Bertha's Lilt Liberation Dream Cavern. Entrepreneur, psychic and wanted fugitive Sad Bertha invites the public to have their dreams interpreted in a magical cavern owned and operated by a separatist faction of the Coca-Cola Company that's philosophically opposed to the rebranding of Lilt as a mere Fanta flavour. Which genuinely did shock me. Bertha provides life lessons and tips for eluding law enforcement, while users describe their last recently remembered dream. Dreams are interpreted according to 3 broad but descriptive categories: strength, emotion, and totally tropical. Each interpretation comes with a series of tasks users must complete before the moon grows fat and the ocean cherub sings once more, obviously. Successful completion of these tasks wins their choice of an imitation Crystal Maze Crystal or a copy of Hollow Man on DVD. Before they are permitted to leave the Dream Cavern, all parties must swear an oath to honour the memory of those 2 Jamaican lasses from the old Lilt Ladies adverts. That is what I did on my ADHD medication, which I had to get private.
I guarantee you, though, If you were to make a Discord and that was one of the channels, that would be the only channel anyone would use. That would be the only channel that was in demand. Everyone would be like, no, I need my dreams interpreted.
It's not a workable concept.
No, it's actually going to be like a lot of cost in terms of time and effort to
it would be a
maintain.
It would be a full-time job.
Yeah.
It would be my new job. And, you know, I'm always entertaining the possibility of career changes. Who isn't in these, you know, free wheeling dealing times? But I don't know. I don't know if there's longevity to the career of producing Sad Bertha's Liberation Dream Cavern. I don't know what that is. I mean, obviously Jonathan Holmes would be involved with it somehow, but it's not a workable concept, and I'm behind on my work now.
I mean, look, if you want to try and make it work, I'm happy to offer my Moon Goddess experience to try and interpret on the dreams. I've got some celestial insights I can offer. We can make this work.
That's true. I'll tell you what, get your people to get in touch with Sad Bertha's people. They're a little hard to track down. They're in any number of safe houses across the state of Maine.
Well, Sad Bertha's people are welcome to get in touch with my people. My people are located on the far side of the moon. I don't know if Sad Bertha's people have the transport to get there.
I don't know if they've got... Yeah, I don't know if any of their dead drops are on the moon.
That's unfortunate. We'll see what happens.
I'll have a word with Lloyd. He saw Sad Bertha last, so...
On some level, though, I think we do have to acknowledge that the meds did work.
I was fixated, that's for sure.
It's the beautiful thing that you have to try and explain to people who don't have ADHD about getting medicated for ADHD is you have focus and dedication thanks to the meds, but there is an entirely separate skill which is pointing that at something. And some days you just like misalign the targeting laser and like, I guess I'm focused on this today.
And generally it's fine. It's a case of, you know, I'll set the objective before I take the dose. So it's, you know, I will write this thing, then I'll really sort of commit to that, take the meds, and I can do.
I take the meds and I'm like, I have to start now, and it like in about 30 minutes I need to be doing this, because then this will be what I stick on.
Yeah, and normally that works out fine, but it has not been working out lately, which is why things like Sad Bertha happen. And I am in dire straits. Like, it's taking me like 3 days to do a 1-day job lately, and that is not like me. I've got a freelance gig I've got going on, and I've never in my life had to ask for an extension. Never once in my fucking life. And I have, and it's crushing me. And I can't get this fucking brain to work. ADHD is, like, I'm terrified by the amount that I can't do. Or rather, I can do, but I can't make myself do it. I can't lasso that bit that needs to do it, and it's terrifying.
That you can't mentally tie a rope between yourself and the task.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can spend an hour working on, is it a TV show? Look, is it just a Discord server? Is it a lifestyle? I don't know what it is.
I promise you I understand this, because you know what I spent an entire day doing last week, and this is the most proud I've been of a thing I've made in a while, but it's completely fucking pointless. I made a video about my groundbreaking theory about the Legend of Zelda series timeline, and how secretly the fact that some of the games have Link be right-handed is not just because of motion controls, that there is a secret left-handed, right-handed, and ambidextrous Link timeline split that Nintendo doesn't want you to know about.
Oh.
I had the moment where I realized that in one of the official Legend of Zelda timeline splits, every single game has Link ambidextrous, and I was like, and that never happens in any other timeline. Must be canon. I'd better invest time into this.
You need to, yeah.
Yeah, so now I can tell people that the adult Link timeline is the left-handed timeline. Majora's Mask splits the timeline into GameCube and Wii Twilight Princess because of bigotry around left-handedness that comes as a result of Termina's destruction in Timeline Loop. And then Ambidextrous Timeline is the one where Link dies because Link dying in Ocarina of Time, but the other two timelines existing makes no fucking sense. And at that point, yeah, why not just make him fucking ambidextrous? Why the hell not?
Now,
that's what I spent time on last week.
Imagine everything that Laura and I have said so far, right? Starting like that, what we've said, starting at 2 a.m. and going on for hours, and that's what it's like living with somebody with ADHD.
Yeah, it's the, hey, I've had a thought and I can't dislodge it, so
So now it's yours?
Come out. Yeah,
now it's the world's problem. Here is my red string conspiracy theory board about how Skyward Sword being the start of the timeline and having right-handed Link, but then going to left-handed Link is a subversion of the left-handed evil trope in various ways. You gotta follow me on my weird conspiracy theory board, because that's where the ADHD went.
I'm on board. There is a version of our mutual partner Phoenix called, I've dubbed them 2 a.m. Fee, where roughly about 2 a.m, that's where the long diatribes about, like, what if pears had teeth come from. and I'm trying to sleep, and it's difficult because I've got ADHD, but their ADHD has got them going on at 2 a.m. about, what if they did that thing where they put bamboo in you and grow stuff into you, but it went right up your bum. Like,
I mean, I was recording Dungeons and Dragons podcast last night, and I got to bed at 2 a.m. and at 3:30 I was still. There is a character in this most recent campaign we've been doing that is the whole joke is that every time we describe them, we add on more random modifiers to the description that we just left out previously. And I spent like an hour and a half just sat there going, what if tentacles, but they were coiled up and were eyes? What about that?
Excellent. The other fucking day, I had a fucking assignment on writing for a video game. One that exists, right? And instead of doing it, I wrote the plot synopsis and character bios for a game that doesn't exist. For one I just made up that second. When I had an actual game that I'm on the clock for. I've got that on the go. I'm literally doing something for a game, and instead of that, I'm doing something that is not a game.
Speaking of being on
Fucking
the clock
hell.
in video games...
Yes!
Hey, welcome to Podquisition. It's supposedly a video game podcast. We talk about games we've played and stuff like that. Who's played anything this week?
We have played video games, I guess. We could confirm that.
Games.
I've played small amounts of video games, and then a video game that I'm not sure how much I'm going to talk about today.
I have played small amounts of video games also. Like, there's an extent to which, obviously, we could talk about some things. I mean, Steph and I played one of the same game. We did.
I haven't written it down, but I have also, like, a little bit of that.
Yeah, so we played that Redfall.
Yes, I've spent most of today on that.
That's a video game. Boy, oh boy.
It is.
Yep. That's, boring. It's incredibly boring.
It's about as bog standard as a video game gets, isn't it? It's just, here is a video game. Here are guns, here are enemies, here are objectives. Have fun, I guess.
I really don't know how you make a premise that seemed that interesting feel so...
I thought it was like Left 4 Dead.
That's sort of the impression I got.
Like, when it was announced, I thought it was like Left 4 Dead, and instead it's like nothing.
I thought it was like Left 4 Dead, but with zombies and superpowers, and I was like, cool, that seems like a great premise, and then that's not really what this is.
No, instead of what if Left 4 Dead but vampires, it's what if the most generic game in the world but vampires. It's just a map with objectives on it and guns of various rarities, because of course, and you shoot mostly people with guns, and then occasionally a vampire just like runs at you headlong at you, and occasionally swipes at you. The AI in that game is Sorry, I couldn't finish the sentence because there is none.
Pretty atrocious.
It's particularly atrocious when you compare it to, like, Arcane's previous stuff. It feels like it's lacking in a lot of the ways that their games are usually very polished. The more you start thinking about, like, oh yeah, no, what this studio usually does and what this is, it just feels kind of farted out.
Yeah. Yeah, like, and even by Arcane's, by any standards, it's so threadbare, I guess, is what I would call it. It's certainly in the mechanics department. It's not quite. I don't know if I'd be so damning as to call it a minimum viable product, but it's fucking close.
It's certainly not. We gave it up. It doesn't feel like they were given the time to give it their all.
It feels like Dead Island without the melee.
Yeah.
That's the vibe I get off of it. That just sort of, okay, we're plopping you in here and we're giving you, directives, and yeah, you'll find some other little shit along the way. It's more empty.
Yeah, it's a stripped down Dead Island, which is not a great place to be in. Like, it ain't got the crafting or, like, status effects or...
And the vampires are not and they should be the most interesting part of it. And, like, you go through that tutorial section at the beginning where you have to make your way to what will be your hub base and clear it out, and you're dealing with largely all human opponents up to that point, and then there's a vampire in the basement, and you're like, oh, all right, okay, here we go, now we're gonna have the vampire fight, and so this is gonna be some kind of boss encountery type deal, and no, I went down there, I shot them twice with a shotgun, stuck them with a stake, and it was over. And it was deflating. And then when you get out into the wider world, the world's just lousy with vampires.
Yeah.
They're fucking everywhere.
What's funny about that is the first few vampire fights were difficult for me because I was trying to play along. I thought the vampires were a threat. I didn't realize they weren't. So I was, like, taking more damage than I should have and, like, finding it difficult to deal with the vampires because I was taking them seriously. I didn't just stand there and shoot them. I was like, oh, I better be careful. Let's keep distance. Let's pop off shots where we can. And so the vampires had the advantage because I was trying not to give them an advantage.
Yeah. I was in the same boat. Like, the secret is just keep pressure on them and they're not that much of a threat. But the second you give them an inch, that's what causes them to be a problem. As soon as you realise, like, just don't back down and shoot them, they're really not that bad.
Yeah. And that's before you get the guns that are designed to kill vampires. Because you've got, like, your handguns, your assault rifles, and some of the guns have stakes attached, which is the only way to kill a vampire. You shoot them till their health's gone. They'll stand there in like a Mortal Kombat fatality thing. And then you just stab them with the stake. And that is sort of an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I like that on some level.
Yeah. But the vampires are still really easy. You just stand there, shoot them, and then walk up to them and melee them, basically. And that's them being really easy, and that's before you get guns literally designed to shoot stakes or UV light, like things that are designed to kill them without the melee bit.
Yeah. I assume the flare gun also functions in this fashion. I have all of these weapons. I have used none of them because I have felt absolutely no practical need to. I have a shotgun with a stake on the end. I'm good.
Yeah, I made myself use them. I forgot. I had the stake launcher for ages and forgot about it. Made myself use it, and you just shoot a vampire twice, and it's done. No melee needed. You just shoot it twice. The UV light thing, you keep it trained on them for not very long. Then they freeze. Then any point of damage will shatter them. The flare is less reliable than those. It does damage over time, and then, if it ticks their health to 0, they'll burn up. Otherwise, all of them viable. I fought some of the elite vampires.
Mm-hmm.
Not a proper boss yet, but there are these ones that cast darkness, basically. And,
right.
A Sin Eater, which it died so fast, I don't know what it does.
It had the coolest looking visual design out of any of these fucking things I've seen so far, but I'll be damned if I know. Like, is it just like a proximity explosion enemy? I can't figure it out.
Yeah, it died before I could get a good look at it even. Yeah, it's so mundane.
You go to these houses that you can enter in through windows, and there will be vampires in them. But, like, you get to the window, and the vampire's just, like, hanging out, literally hanging out, floating above the ground in front of the window. And it's like, all right, break glass, shoot vampire, go downstairs. Oh, there are more vampires down here, standing in front of fucking windows. Just standing in front of fucking windows.
Yeah, they don't do anything.
No.
Sometimes they don't do anything if you're killing their friends.
Yeah.
Like the cultists, like just guys with guns, basically. If you've got a sniper rifle, you're fucking laughing. I stood in a parking lot full of cultists and just aimed at one, popped its head off, aimed at another, popped its head off. All of them are like no more than 50 yards apart, and they're not reacting. They're not reacting to the sound of a sniper rifle going off. They're not reacting to their friends dying. It's hard even to make the game difficult for yourself.
Yeah, that was what I was observing. I expected, especially in these games that seem designed for co-op, because I have zero interest in co-op or online play or any of that shit. So my expectation is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to wind up feeling a little bit frustrated, like a Back for Blood situation.
Yeah.
And no, I just felt bored and unchallenged.
Yeah. There are cars that you can loot. Some of them are rigged with like car alarms.
Oh, I haven't encountered a car alarm yet.
Yeah, I've encountered quite a few. In my experience, maybe one of the 10 to a dozen car alarms I triggered actually alerted anything.
Well, so like real car alarms.
Yeah. Oh, God. Quality comment on the state of society. The fucking state of it. The fucking state of it, folks. I thought it was Fanta just copying the lilt flavour. I didn't realise the Coca-Cola company had discontinued lilt and had rolled it into Fanta as a flavour. And they're not even calling it lilt-flavoured Fanta. They're just calling it pineapple and grapefruit. So that's where we're at with society, which is well and truly gone to the dogs. It's gone to the dogs, and that is
and that's where Redfall belongs.
Like Redfall, yeah. Fucking hell. I'll say this, it's easy to play.
Yeah.
Like, it's playable in that I can put that on and just play it for my job without having to think about it. And then I can write my review. It's an easy job. I'll give it that. Fucking hell.
Boy, yeah, I really think Microsoft did Sony fans a favor.
Yeah?
Yeah, because it's save the effort.
Yeah. I'm glad it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, me too.
No one should have to buy
I wouldn't have played it otherwise.
No.
Oh, and I guess the single player is always online. That's cool.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Because they need you to be online to try and sell you stuff, because, that's how these games work.
Yeah. I don't know what the monetization is on it, if any.
I've not gone looking, but I believe there's stuff you can buy.
I've seen a lot of skins in the menu, but they seem unlockable. But I'm not. I'll have to dig into
I look at these things being looter shooters, and my brain just assumed that I could spend money to buy stuff.
It's always a safe assumption.
It's that genre.
Yeah, if not now, then later down the line.
Yeah, give it a few weeks. They'll patch it in.
So I'm not going to talk about a game this week. I'm going to talk about some silly nonsense that I found fascinating to watch unfold.
Okay.
So that new Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom, it's meant to be out on May 12th. It's just out there. Copies are being sold on online auction sites. It's not that hard to get a hold of a copy, and also it's just It's just out there on the internet as well. This has been the case for a while with Nintendo first-party releases. Somewhere between a week and 10 days before release, they all end up showing up online, and Tears of the Kingdom has been no exception. And, no spoilers here. You're not going to get spoiled if you're waiting for end of next week to play it. But I do want to talk about, the weird, fascinating little thing that popped up around this game hitting the internet, because I'm genuinely fascinated by the long con someone played, and I want to tell a story about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, go back to tail end of last week. A couple of copies are starting to show up online. People are overpaying over the odds to get a hold of copies. Monday morning, I think it was Monday morning, someone, footage starts showing up of the game. Cutscenes, little bits of people running around. It's clear someone's got their hands on the game. And it turns out there's someone streaming Tears of the Kingdom in some Discord server, and they're playing it in an emulator, which means, not only is the game out there, someone's ripped it to a ROM, there's a ROM that could go circulating. And this is the first anyone's seen of this game leaking, is this person just sat there playing it in an emulator. And this person sort of goes, "Give me a minute, everyone," and sort of implies that he's about to just hit upload on the ROM and put the game on the internet, which is a bold fucking move when your name is attached to it.
Yeah.
Right? And then, eventually he goes, "It's out there now, enjoy," and all of the illegal download sites suddenly have Tears of the Kingdom. 16 gigs, it looks like the right size, it's been put up by these sites, it's it's obviously the right thing. People download 16 gigs of thing and download it put it on their hacked switches. It was not Tears of the Kingdom. This person had managed to get a hold of Tears of the Kingdom, play it in an emulator, be the only one doing it, all to set up trolling people. What people got if they loaded this 16 gigs of download onto their Switch was a 2D animation of a very poorly drawn Ganondorf singing a Spanish song called Suavemente in an automated robotic voice that had been made in Unity so it could run on the Switch, and it had Tears of the Kingdom as its the name of the game and the right box art on it. And it is a song in which this text-to-speech voice Ganondorf is singing essentially, "Kiss me softly, I want to feel your lips, kissing me one more time, kiss me softly," just over and over and over, while a CGI Link just sort of dances near him.
I am, in this moment, I am delighted.
Right? And this is what I wanted to talk about this week, is I have so much respect for the long con that had to be pulled off for that joke, which is someone got a hold of a copy, put it in an emulator purely so people could go, "Oh, you've got the ROM, you're going to upload it," and then got a bunch of desperate people to download dancing Link and Ganondorf singing about wanting to passionately kiss. So that's a beautiful thing that happened. Anyway, Tears of the Kingdom's out there, and if you want to avoid spoilers, good luck with that, because that game is just out there. People were streaming it on Twitch this week with thousands of people just watching the game get played. It is a situation Nintendo has done nothing about and can do nothing about until they release new hardware, so yeah, that continues to be the weird situation around Nintendo games, but at least this time there's a story of very poorly animated Link and Ganon wanting to make out on your Nintendo Switch.
Oh god, I'm fucking thrilled about that.
Yeah, it's the video. There's video footage on YouTube of what people loaded up. It's a delight to see. Anyway, Steph, you've played some other things this week.
I have played some other things.
Yeah, what have you been playing this week?
I played the Jedi game.
Yeah.
Jedi, is it Fallen Survivor or just Survivor or what? Jedi Survivors?
I think is it just Star Wars Jedi Survivor?
Is there even a Jedi in Jedi Survivors?
Yeah, Jerome from Gotham is...
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's just called Jedi Survivor.
He is a Jedi.
Yeah. So you're not trying to find a Jedi and there isn't actually one in the game.
No, he's a is a proper Jedi.
What's his name? Your Cal Katarn?
Cal Kestis, I think his
Cal
name is.
Kestis, sorry. Cal Katarn, I think, is a different Jedi in a Star Wars game.
Yeah, the series does love its alliterative names.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something off about it. There's something off about the game. I don't remember the combat feeling quite as unreliable in the original, in Fallen Order. I don't recall the hair physics being like the WWE 2K games. Like, the hair is constantly trying to escape from his head when he runs. And the running animation itself is strange. I was streaming it last night and chat kept remarking on how weirdly robotic he moved. The physics are not particularly reliable, which is a bit of a problem when there's a lot of platforming in between fights. I'd have to go back and double check, but I don't remember the combat being quite as... I don't want to keep using the word unreliable, but like Cal struggling to close the gap between himself and enemies, and the blocking doesn't feel quite as responsive as it needs to be. It's slightly off, and I can't quite put my finger on it. Like, all of those elements don't quite explain how slightly not right the game feels to play. I mean, when it's working just fine, it's fine. It's another one of those sort of what-if Star Wars, but Dark Souls very, very light. You run around, you hit things with a lightsaber, you can pull people, you can push people, you can Jedi mind trick people, all that shit. I find the non-game bits more interesting than the game bits. There's a cantina, and various NPCs over the course of the game will sort of join you and hang out there, and you can get a weird little walrus starfish thing to jump in different bits of water and get fish, and you can fill an aquarium with fish if you want. I find that stuff interesting, moderately. The actual gameplay, the actual running around hitting things with a lightsaber, I could take or leave. It's not quite as dreary and dull and minimal as Redfall, but it's not exciting. I've not had a particularly thrilling time with it, and I don't know if I've even got anything else to say. Well, I could talk about the technical stuff. This is part of a discussion at the moment about the recent spate of terrible PC ports. Now, terrible PC ports have always been a thing, but people have been really vocal about it lately. This is just the latest in a long line of shit PC ports. I've not played the PC version. I've played the PS5 version, and I'm not impressed with that. It's got screen tearing, which I could count on one hand in my entire games reviewing career, the amount of times I've seen a console game with screen tearing. I think a patch has fixed it, but disabling motion blur tanked the frame rate at launch. But the frame rate itself is not consistent. There are loading times for little things, like getting into the small cantina. You've got to stand there and wait for the game to load before the door opens, which on the PS5, with its, oh hey, no more loading, like, it stands out, because bigger games than this are getting away with far less loading. There is just something shoddy about the game. There's just this overall aura of, shoddy, a bit cobbled, certainly not polished. It's not the most broken game in the world, at least the PS5 version isn't. It's not super duper broken, but every element of it is just a bit not great, just a bit wonky, which is a shame, you know. The first game was pretty decent. I enjoyed the fact that the first one was a success, because it was one of them ones where a game that people wanted did well. A game that nobody had ever said they didn't want did well when they got another one, and EA was surprised by it. Where it's like, people like Star Wars for its universe and its story and its characters. And EA was surprised that a story-driven Star Wars game sold well instead of one of their live service bits of crap. Like,
yeah,
funny that.
Like, sure, you know, put out your Battlefront, people like the Battlefront, but when you think of, like, classic Star Wars games, like, people like their fucking stories. People like Knights of the Old Republic. Or I used to like the Jedi Academy games when I was a kid. It amazes me that Star Wars, having a story-driven game, surprised EA with its success.
Well, they may have rightly observed the quality of Star Wars storytelling over the... I'm sorry.
Well, you know, it's... You're not wrong. But in terms of what, you know...
Right. In terms of what the audience
those
wants.
fans like. No, it's just a shame. The game isn't terrible. I don't know if it's truthful if I say I've enjoyed it. I don't know. I've tolerated it. I've not had a miserable time. I've not been enthralled by it. But whatever enjoyment it could have had is let down by the fact that there's such a consistent not rightness to it, not finishedness to it, that it gives a weird atmosphere.
I have one thing about this game that has annoyed me, and it's not the game itself. It is a repeated issue I see so often with coverage of a certain thing. Jedi Survivor has an arachnophobia mode, which is really great.
Yeah.
One of the big problems I know for a lot of people is that the first game, Fallen Order, had some really big spider-like enemies, and that was like, nope, can't do this. Was like a stopping point for a bunch of people with a fear of spiders. Mm-hmm. This game has a setting where you can replace spiders with a thing that looks less like a spider but is the same difficulty of enemy. Great, fantastic. Every single fucking article on the internet about this uses a picture from Fallen Order of whatever the fucking character's name is, fighting a giant spider as their header image, and fails to show a picture of what the replacement for the spiders looks like.
Excellent.
None of them make the effort to go and turn on arachnophobia mode, go find a spider enemy and go, this is what it looks like instead of a spider, and use that instead of a spider. They all just put, here's the Jedi fighting a big spider as their big header image, and nothing other than, it changes the appearance. Fucking show people what the not spider looks like instead of going, oh, I want to know about this mode that might be helpful for me. Fuck, you showed me a big spider.
Yeah, that's the part that galls me, is that they put the header image of a spider in a post about arachnophobia.
And I'm not surprised it happened, because, like, I don't know if you remember this, Grounded, the Bethesda all shrunken down in the garden game.
It was one of the first sort of big deals when it came to arachnophobia modes.
And it's great that they put that mode in there. In the trailer in which they announced arachnophobia mode, they made a joke of showing spiders. They showed spiders in the trailer where they're talking about arachnophobia mode.
Yeah.
Like, no one who reports on these things, or even makes, like, the announcements about them within companies, takes the mode seriously. It's great that it exists, but if you're reporting on one of these modes, don't fucking show spiders anywhere on the post. Like, I don't have arachnophobia, but it pisses me the hell off. Yeah. Like, I've been counting the sites going, yep, no, every one of you's used the spider image, of course you have. Little rant over, there we go.
Mm-hmm. No, but no, absolutely fair, though.
Well, I played Lollipop Chainsaw.
Yeah, how's that going? How's that going?
That is, not to repeat myself, that is a video game. Yeah, it's fine. Like, it's fine. The visual design is pretty good. Juliet is oddly shiny. Like, and that could be a function of the fact that I'm playing it on an emulator. That could be. But she stands out in a slightly strange way. Yeah, the combat is fine. It's a bit more of a methodical combo system than I tend to like as a button masher by nature. It's not that it's inflexible. It's just, even when I attempt combos, I can't tell if I'm actually pulling them off because of, how animated everything is. But it's, I don't know if it hates women. Certainly every enemy in the game hates women.
Sorry, you gave me flashbacks to many years ago of game discussion. Oh, yeah.
Like, I legitimately, and this is okay. If you're going to put zombies in a game and give those zombies limited power of speech, that's a creative choice, one I generally support. However, can we broaden the limited range of speech of these zombies to something past, I don't know, bitch? They say bitch so often.
Yeah.
And, like, is there a knob we can turn? Is there a bitch knob that I can crank down?
If I recall correctly, the fight with the zombie voiced by Jimmy Urine says a lot more than bitch.
Oh, well, yeah, no, the Jimmy Urine of it all is...
The Jimmy Urine of it all.
It's...
So I had streamed this a bit. And one of the things that is notable about this as a Suda51 production is that it's the only one, I think, that traffics pretty heavily in licensed music. I guess as a result of its Warner Brothers publication and probably James Gunn creatively influencing it a bit. So there are some tracks in it, like Lollipop in the shop menu. Great touch, enjoy it. I am amused by the use of Mickey whenever you turn on your super mode. Yeah.
I forgot about that.
That's fun. But the upshot of this is that if I'm streaming the game, I need to turn the music off, right? Because I don't want to, trip a copyright thing and deal with that whole nonsense. The nice thing about this is when I'm playing the game on stream, I hear less Jimmy Urine. Because he did all of the boss fight music for the game. But, when I did start streaming, I was in that boss fight with him. And for people who don't know, I'm pretty sure he's hiding out in New Zealand right now because of sex assault allegations. Just throwing that out there.
I do recall there being allegations.
There are allegations. Last I knew,
boy.
Hiding out in New Zealand.
Look, I wouldn't be surprised if the man who made his career out of being in a band where he frequently sang about, like, ha ha ha, I'm definitely jokingly singing about sexual assault, ha ha ha, it's to an upbeat beat.
12-year-old panty shot? Yeah, I'd say there's some...
I'd be so shocked and surprised. Oh.
The game is very boring when you're not fighting things. Like, environmental traversal just feels like a slog. This is mitigated after the first stage, which I realized was as far as I made it when I tried to play previously. Like, I made it, I maybe recall the chainsaw run launch thing after the Jimmy Urine fight, but I'm not sure. I can't say with specificity that I got to the Jimmy Urine boss fight before. The chainsaw dash, it makes traversal sections more entertaining in the ones that are built for it, which is a lot of them after that point. But generally speaking, it's just like, okay, I'm trundling along. It reminds me a lot of No More Heroes whenever I'm going from one place to another. It's just not interesting. But I like rescuing the survivors. That bit is a fun challenge, and I like how it forces me to assess my approach in terms of dealing with the different zombie types. I do think the zombie types are varied and fun. I enjoyed the farm level where you encounter the zombie chickens and the zombie horses and cows. It's not bereft of ideas or anything. It definitely has a style. James Gunn's grubby little fingerprints are like all fucking over it. I mean, it's like comparable to Justin Roiland's influence on High on Life, right?
Yeah.
You really, if you paid any attention to Gunn's career, and I've paid a lot of more attention to Gunn's career than I think is valid, but he's everywhere. Like, every time I hear some quippy joke, I'm like, oh, I know where that came from. And no, it wasn't cute to make the joke about the fast zombies, James. It wasn't. It wasn't cute. We all know you did it. It's fine. It's fine.
I interviewed James Gunn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
About Lollipop Chainsaw, because he liked my review of it. So did Jimmy Urine, actually. I don't know. Like, I've been wanting to play through these games like you have, Conrad.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been wanting to get hold, wink, of a copy, wink, of Lollipop Chainsaw and take some time to play through it. I don't know if I'd have the same thoughts on it these days that I did back then. I fucking loved it back in the day. But I was a very different person back in the day. So that was around the time I was coming out of my sort of real sort of socially ignorant phase and was trying to do better.
Right.
And stumbling a lot while trying to do better. Like, I was listening to some old recordings and my God, my early attempts about 10 years ago to be more inclusive of genders outside the binary, I was so confused, which is fucking funny when you think about it now. Our boy Jonathan, though.
He's always been on the
tip. He was well on the ball 10 years ago. He was just well ahead of us on the whole, you know, sex and gender differences and performance. And
as someone that's been like aware of Jonathan for a while, Jonathan's been on it for a long time. Jonathan knows his stuff.
He is very much a lovely boy.
He's a good one.
We need to get him on this. Not so that I can talk about his, you know, his tight...
Can you restrain
tight
yourself?
little buns. I'd love to restrain him. In a consensual kinks scenario.
I'm just glad you answered the question so quickly.
Oh, God, I love that boy. Anyway, yeah, so I'm not sure if I'd have the same read on Lollipop Chainsaw that I did back then, where I did try and argue that, this is very pro-women. I'd probably be a bit embarrassed if I played it now.
My feelings from, like, having not played it in a while, but thinking about having played it at the time, is it wanted to be a game that tried to present itself as pro-woman by being like, hey, terrible things are being said about women, but it's by the bad ones, and you get to beat them up after they say the bad thing, so it's empowering. And it's like,
Okay. Juliet, as a protagonist, I have never seen... No, that's probably not true, but this is the most glaring example I can remember seeing of a character that is a woman that is so obviously written by men.
yes.
This is bouncing boobily down the stairs level shit.
Thing is, like, it's not that far separated time-wise, and I think, like, this and Bayonetta are the two things that, like, Bayonetta is still, like, has its moments of being, like, breasted boobily down the stairs. But Bayonetta, at the very least, like, very much leans its weight towards anyone who is going to be, like, gross and leery to this female protagonist is going to get fucking destroyed because you are nothing but dirt beneath her foot. And, like, there's something to that that's, like, you know, different from the man right woman, like, yeah, this is what girls are like, right? There's definitely ones like this out there. It's two very different vibes that feel like they were trying to do the same thing.
I'll tell you the other difference, which I've been meaning to do a video on this. There's a reason why a lot of people in, like, feminist spaces, left spaces, what have you, not only accept, but, like, downright embrace and join in on the thirst with games like Bayonetta and Nier. Because it's written by guys being, you know, pervy, but they own it so hard and commit so hard to the bit that it's not like Kojima trying to justify it, that's the bit that makes it come off as creepy, when you're trying to say, oh no, there's a real artistic reason I'm doing this, rather than, like, the Nier director with the big moon for a head saying, yeah, I just like looking at arses.
Yeah, as soon as you stop trying to say, you know, you will be ashamed of your words and deeds, and just go, yeah, tits are good though.
Yeah, like...
It's like, you know what, I can respect tits are good.
I've tried to make this point before, like, people accuse people on the left of being prudes and all of this, and it's like, obviously I know a lot of more progressive folks, and, God, they're among the thirstiest fucking people I could know. They are always horny, on main. They're not these prudish censors that, that the Christian right actually are, when we actually look at who's doing the censorship. That said, I am concerned that the way men write women with the bouncing boobily down the stairs is exactly the same way that James Stephanie Sterling writes James Stephanie Sterling.
Look, it is empowering to write yourself as breastily boobling down the stairs.
But that's your choice.
That's you owning that. It's different if, a room of men were like, no, we're going to make you breast boobily down the stairs.
In a way, I'm my own Hideki Kamiya.
This discussion brings me to the Suda move in this one. Because we've been trying to observe all of these sort of elements in Suda games where he does the thing in an ironic sense or tries to illustrate something, make some statement about it. And I think I found what it is in this one. And it is her ass. The game, much like Bayonetta does also, perhaps in a more egregious and over-the-top fashion, one could argue, Lollipop Chainsaw delights in shoving Juliet's ass in the center frame of the camera. It is constant. And then what it does is tell you not to look up her skirt. Put something else on the fucking screen then. Don't try to guilt me for the thing you did.
I can tell you exactly what it is it's doing. It's Miranda in Mass Effect 2, where you get the entire, very lengthy conversation about, I'm actually quite emotionally damaged by the fact that my father genetically engineered me to be physically perfect in every way, and this causes, so many problems around, having to live up to this, physical but also emotional perfection. And you're having this conversation, and then the camera just, frames right below her ass. I'm like, yep.
But that is subconscious male shit. This is very conscious about what they're doing. And it pisses me off. There's no way. You can't stick their ass in front of me 5 times in a minute, and then...
That one Miranda shot, I think, is very deliberate. It's weird and deliberate. But I get you.
Anyway, it's playable. It has some entertainment value. I think I have 1 or 2 levels left to go, and I will probably finish it just so that I can say that I did. One thing that I will say that I do like about it is it does feel very dynamic when it's moving you from one section, closed off area where you're going to fight a bunch of enemies to the next one. There's always some movement, some action that instigates the transition, and that I like. Then don't make me walk places, I guess is what I'm saying. If you're going to do those cool things, just keep it all tight and compact, and those really work for me. But yeah, it's not that it's without humor. There are things in it that I'm like, okay, that's pretty funny. I like the dad, and his sort of Elvis-y thing he's got going on. The family as a whole is fine. It's just I feel Juliet is, because you get to spend so much time with her, it's frustrating a little bit. But yeah, it's fine. Game's fine. Moving on.
Yeah. I think the last thing we got on the played stuff list, Steph, you've got one other thing you've been playing.
One more thing. So I finished Final Fantasy IV Pixel Remaster, got through that, and instead of doing the games that I'm supposed to be doing for reviews, I hyperfixated on playing the first Final Fantasy from beginning to end, the Pixel Remaster version. I've started that game before. I've never gotten very far in it historically, so I'm glad I finally played it from beginning to end. And as an artifact, it remains an interesting game for the sort of early installment weirdness that it has. The fact that it is just a straight rip-off of Dungeons & Dragons with regards to, enemies and layout and the way the magic works and all of that.
Yeah.
I hate the map design on that one. The dungeons and towns are laid out... the first castle, Cornelia Castle... The weird fact that it's one half of the castle is not connected to the other half in any interior fashion. And to get to it, you've got to get out the castle and then get back in. Some of the maps in that game it's just fucking bizarre. There's a lot of backtracking in it, like going back and forth to just go here to learn that you need to do a thing, go there and do it, then come back and finish doing it. Kind of dreary looking back, but it is what it is, and it obviously started the series, saved Square Enix from bankruptcy, so as an influential thing, it's well worth it. And I'm glad I played through it the once, but I will never play that one again. Once again, though, gotta praise the rearranged music. The new musical score for the remasters. Utterly gorgeous. Like, the music in the first game is good. It's not as great as some of the later games in terms of soundtrack. But the remastered version, the rearranged music tracks, some of those, like, I've had one stuck in my head for ages. Just this really beautiful version of one of the dungeon themes. And the music is so good for the Pixel remasters. It's one of the things I'm looking forward to. Like, I haven't played through 5 yet, and I remember the very first time I played 5. Like, there's a reason Battle on the Big Bridge is such a beloved song in sort of the history of Final Fantasy music. Because I remember the first time I played 5. I was enjoying it well enough, then that music struck up as you, like, fought your way across this bridge, and I was like, this is fucking awesome. So I'm really looking forward to hearing the Pixel Remaster version of that, because so far, it's made already great tunes, it's provided a really nice version of those, and the ones that were so-so, they've turned them into genuinely great tunes. Of all the things to praise with those remasters, the music is absolutely, probably for me, top billing. So yeah, I don't know if I'll have another one to talk about next week, but I am hoping in between projects to get through one a piece, maybe one a week. That'd be nice, but I don't know if I've got time. Anyway, that is all the stuff what I played this week.
Nice. Should we do a couple of little bits of news and then wrap up?
Let's do that.
A couple of little bits. I think the main things this week, and they're just sort of, there's nothing too heavy this week. Vampire Survivors is getting a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
That's happening. There's an animated TV show of Vampire Survivors coming. I read the press release for this and was like... there was half a second in which I thought, like, okay, this has to be a joke, and then I was like, no, this is Vampire Survivors, this is very real. Let me find, who is it that is announced working on this? Sorry, I'm trying to find... Where was the article that had the name?
You know, you could just say not Steph.
I mean, look, that's up to you whether you say not Steph or not.
No, people have asked, obviously, and I'm not a member of Ponsel. I'm a freelancer who was brought in to do bestiary stuff. There might be more writing on the game for me down the line. That's not confirmed. I will say that while I don't expect to be involved, I don't anticipate being involved with the show in any way. If they wanted that conversation, I'd be fucking delighted. Yeah. I'd be very interested, especially because in terms of like story and characters, the game's playable characters, I've got ideas. Like me and my co-writer on the game, Lawrence, like we've both got like loads of ideas.
I found the email I was looking for. Yeah, so it's apparently being worked on by one of the people behind the recent Sonic the Hedgehog movie and the writer and creator of John Wick, which sure is a couple of things to read about Vampire Survivors.
Yeah, I mean, there's potential. I will watch it. Sure, I'll watch it.
I have no idea what it would be, but whatever it is, I'll give it a go. And the other thing for this week that's just like a neat bit of news is there's a new Forza Motorsport coming later this year, which not usually my genre, the sort of more serious, racing sims, but for the last couple of years, the team behind the new Forza have been doing consulting with someone called Brandon Cole, who is a fantastic accessibility consultant, who has been basically totally blind since birth, completely sightless since birth, who has been working with them for the last 2 years to develop a bunch of blind driving assists to help make a Forza, like, sim-style racing game playable for players without vision, based off things like panning the engine audio and tire audios left and right depending on what turn you need to be making and like how close it's coming, sort of beeping sounds that can sort of signal how close you are to the edge of the track. There seems to be like when rally drivers have like a co-pilot reading like, okay, there's a sharp turn coming up on the left, it's about 45 degrees coming up like this, that all come together to hopefully make it so that more blind players can play a racing game. It's really interesting. It's well worth going and watching the video on Xbox's YouTube channel about this. Some of the things I'd not even considered were, when you've never seen while being inside a car, things like realizing that you need to slow down when going into a turn are not necessarily intuitive, and finding a way to make the game playable for people who might not have that built-in knowledge and getting over that barrier is like, well done. I'm glad to see we're getting more genres trying to go, how can we use other senses to make this game playable for people who maybe can't see? So that's fucking great. That's just a cool thing that we learned about this week.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. There's just a couple of nice things that happened. That's the news. It was nice this week.
Oh,
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Lighter, fair.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that's us done then.
the news may be light, but the workload of the Laura is often very heavy, but it does result in content that the lovely listeners could check out after the show, maybe. Could you maybe tell them about it?
You can find all my stuff at Laura K Buzz pretty much everywhere on the internet. I've got that good unified branding. Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, YouTube, Patreon, that's the one that pays the bills. Obviously, look forward to the Accessibility Summer Showcase happening on June 9th at 4 p.m. UK, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Other than that, finally announced, I've been sat on this for a while, Stories of Autistic Joy is my next book. Much like Gender Euphoria, it is an anthology of positive stories from people from a specific minority background who don't often get to talk about what joy looks like for them. In this case, it is an anthology of a bunch of autistic people not pretending that there is no struggle, with being autistic, but talking about the unique shapes that joy can take for the autistic community. It's coming out on October 19th, so it's a little ways out, but it's starting to pop up on various places where you can pre-order books, so look forward to that. Also, myself and my lovely wife Jane were interviewed for the new issue of MCV Develop magazine, which is a sort of game developer-centric magazine. It's available to read free online. The new issue has just come out, and we made the cover. We're mentioned on the cover, so that's exciting. So go read an interview about Who Hunts the Whale and the state of the games industry. Conrad, what about you? Where are you on the internet?
I'm at Conrad Zimmerman on Twitter and Instagram. You can buy all sorts of cool anti-capitalist propaganda stuff from me at Mercenary Creative. I've got a shirt that says ass on it in huge letters. You should check that out. You can listen to me on Let's Talk About Snacks. Go check out Red Planet, which is a podcast and live stream that I produce with some lovely people about how we can help make the world a better place moving forward. And everything I do online gets supported through Patreon at patreon.com/fistshark. And you know who else has a Patreon? James Stephanie Sterling.
Yeah. Yeah. That's me. Patreon.com/Jimquisition. That's that Patreon. I stream. I have actually been getting back into doing streaming recently, which I really missed, and I'm glad I've been able to have the sort of physical wellness and time to do it. That's Twitch TV/Jim Sterling. My next couple of confirmed wrestling bookings, I'll just do the real imminent ones. May 12th. That is coming up soon. May 12th, Liverpool, Effie's Big Gay Brunch. Commander Sterling will be in action there. June 10th, unless the card order's changed, I'm in the main event of that. That's in Blackpool, Pride of the Ring 2, where I'll be defending my PCW Women's Championship against Harley Hudson. And also, I have accepted my first London booking. I'm finally bringing the Commander down south. It's been a long time coming. finally a promotion realised that there's tickets to be sold in that. So yeah, it's not officially announced yet, but keep an eye out for the end of June, around about the end of June. I will be in London for just a very interesting wrestling promotion, I'll say that. Yeah, so that's that. Hope to see you at any of those shows if you can get there. I love to hang out with fans and that sort of after the show, and they're always good. Other than that, thank you all so much for listening, for supporting, for sharing, all of that stuff, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.